What's going on, everyone? Jason from Collector here. Now, first of all, I just want to apologize if this video turns out to be a little rushed, a little unhinged. I say unhinged, but I've had the craziest week. It's our Christmas season. I just haven't had time to breathe, pretty much. But of course, I had to talk about this Sega news, this Sega goodness that has come out, because obviously I've been in some chats and stuff, just going flip mode about these announcements. But I mean, come on. It's not every day that we get news like this from Sega. And I jumped on Twitter and I said this is arguably the greatest Sega news we have had in years. Now, I've done a video before. I spoke about Streets of Rage 4 and stuff. I'm going to bring that up later when I actually do decide to talk about Streets of Rage. But the first thing I told myself when I saw this news, and after I saw the footage, after I saw that amazing trailer at the Game Awards, I said to myself, clocked it. Allow yourself to be hyped. Don't think about the ifs, buts, and maybes in this crazy industry and this crazy Sega that we normally have in these days. Just allow yourself to be excited like the old Sega fanboy that you are. Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about classic Sega IPs, and I've said it a million times, people. When Sega were at the top of their game, they rivaled and surpassed most developers in this industry. There's nothing like a Sega library of games. And them just showing Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Crazy Taxi. These are just IPs that are just so different to what everyone else at the time was doing. And I'm just like, man, and to me, people, I'm trying to do just more on this channel to show my Sega history, because I always talk about Nintendo a lot, but trust me, I'm a Sega fan of old, up there with Nintendo. I mean, my second favorite console, almost first. The N64 is my favorite console ever, but the Saturn comes so close, people. So close. I am a Sega fan of old. And I just had to talk about these games. Look, I think I'm already what am I looking at? I'm recording on Odyssey. So I'm already 2 minutes in. Let's start talking the games, people. And the first game that they showed, they've done it in this crazy order anyway, right? They just blew for this trailer. The trailer, I was like, what is happening? And I'm sure when we all saw that trailer, just that initial part with us two people sitting on the couch, we were like, a part of me was like, this is just going to be another compilation, almost like, because as soon as you start seeing Shinobi and Axel's gloves and the streets and the Jet Set Radio, symbols and stuff on the skateboard, Gilia's helm and stuff like that from Golden Axe, I was like, this is just going to be another, a bundle of classic games, maybe, because that's what we've been given, right? But then it just, when you first saw Beat just flying through the thing. Now we've seen this image before. We've seen, if you have been in these Sega streets, you've seen this image of Beat leaked before. But then to see it in motion now, and I'm just blown away. I think artistically and art style wise, it looks great. I'm going to talk about how I feel. One thing I might be worried about later on, but let's just stay with the excitement. And yeah, just seeing this game, just emotion. I mean, Jet Set Radio, it's one of my favorite Sega games ever, which you might have saw in a previous video if you watched my at least my physical games video, the physical Sega games that I still own. The soundtrack to Jet Set Radio by Hideki Naganuma, who I follow on Twitter, and I'm praying to Chrome that he's working on this game, because he's just done Bomb Rush Cyberpunk as well. And if you do follow him on Twitter, he says, don't talk to me about Sega because I'm not with Sega anymore. So it's always a bit worrying, but I hope he's there. But Jet Set Radio was one of those unique Dreamcast IPs that just graphically, the original cell shading and the soundtrack just took Jet Set Radio to the next level. I fell in love with what are they called? This is why I do stuff off cuffs. Guitar Vader, right? And they done Super Super Brothers and she's a magical girl. Dun, dun, dun. And then obviously with Hideki Naganori, he done most of the soundtrack. Everybody jump around, jump up, you guess all that stuff, and Sweet Soul Brother, which I absolutely love. But man, I just I really hope that they nailed Jet Set Radio. I love Jet Set Radio, the first game. I did enjoy Jet Set Radio Future, but I don't pit it at the same level as Jet Set Radio. There's a few things that didn't quite hit with Future, but it was still a good game. But I really hope they nail this, because to have Jet Set Radio in rotation is that type of game that could just bring new flavor and new sounds with every generation. So just seeing this, I mean, I think what we saw, looks early on, which is fine. They're saying all these games are in development. If you look down at the street level, you can see the cars. I think most of the cars aren't moving. There's one part where you do see some people, but there's a lot of parts where you don't see people. And one thing about Jet Set Radio is that the density of the crowds that you're pushing, you're plowing through people, as you're being chased by Captain Onishima. And as you're being chased by him, you're just mowing through all these people to get out of the way and stuff. All the rival gangs, like Poison Jam. Oh, man. All I hope is that we see the original gang, the original GGs, Beat, Gum, and Tab. I also hope we get some other guys coming back. I used to play as Cube and Mew in the original Jet Set Radio, but super hyped for this game. I think it's going to be great. I really think it's going to be great. But swiftly moving on, we got Streets of Rage. Now, I mentioned earlier, when Streets of Rage 4 was first shown, I tried to stress to people that this, even though I was happy to see Streets of Rage back, I wanted the Streets of Rage elevation that it deserved during the 3D era. Kind of like when we got Fighting Force, coming to 3D, which was always meant to be a Streets of Rage game. I'm sure a million people know by now, but in case you don't, it's meant to. I was playing other beat 'em ups like on in that era, like Die Hard Arcade, which could have itself been a Streets of Rage game, or Dynamite Cop, which was a sequel on Dreamcast and stuff. All these 3D beat 'em ups, which were fantastic games, so good. And I just wanted to see that from Streets of Rage. It could have made the jump to glorious 3D with amazing backgrounds. And seeing this game, even though we could tell this earlier, we see Axel, he's punching people on the ground, which looks great because he slams them on the ground as well. That's awesome. And if you slow it down, you see the bins in the street rattling as they hit the ground and stuff like that. So I got a feeling it's going to be some good environmental damage and stuff. But man, just like with Jet Set Rage, we need the GOAT. We need the goated soundtrack of the G. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I tried to stay in this hyped mode, to record this, But we need the GOAT that is Yuzo Koshiro back. And I know he done some stuff on Streets of Rage 4. I hope he comes back for this. And of course, with Streets of Rage, we want to see Axel Blaze and Adam and hopefully Skater Max and anyone else they decide to bring back. But what I wanted to stress, it wasn't just about bringing Streets of Rage into 3D. It was about giving it that treatment, that AAA star treatment that I always wanted from many Sega IPs. Now, I'm not expecting these games to be the AAA of my dreams, but if you get a high budget AA, just at that peak of that AA, Streets of Rage will sing and dance as a brawler, and brawlers for no matter how old they might be, these are the standards of video games. I think this looks great. I really do. The neon signs in the background, the dirty, grubby streets. Oh man, just take me back. Super hyped. Then we have Shinobi. Now, I grew up playing Shinobi on the Master System and in the arcades, but the game that sung and danced for me the most was, of course, Revenge of Shinobi on the Sega Mega Drive. I didn't actually play Shinobi 3 back when the Mega Drive was out, is what I missed out on, but my game was Revenge of Shinobi. Of course, I've gone back and played Shinobi 3, which is amazing, but come on, just nostalgia-wise for me, Revenge of Shinobi is peak, absolute peak. And you got Joe, Musashi, just this classic ninja, and then man, when I saw the art style to this game, it just reminds me of something like just a traditional Japanese type of artwork, something like Muramasa demon blade or something like, and you got him running through the fields, just those white grass flowers blowing and that giant demon like in the background. Oh man, I think the art style for this is absolutely beautiful. And what do I want from this game? I just want a great action platformer like the Shinobi of Odes. It's more mobility added, being able to leap off the walls, which I think they show in the trailer anyway. Bring back some magic, bring back some great new moves. I enjoyed Shinobi 2 on the PS2. I remember buying it, thinking it was okay. I liked his cape and stuff, a scarf, whatever. But I think Shinobi can be done in 3D, but I'm more than happy to see it return to its roots like this and look beautiful. Shinobi is one of my favorite Sega games ever. Revenge of Shinobi, one of my favorite Sega games ever, and I think this looks like it's going to give the series some beautiful 2D justice. And now we got Golden Axe, and obviously you see like a Gilius Thunderhead, rolling around with his big axe and stuff, and I'm laughing because I just bought my friends some Sega pins from the Sega store as Christmas presents. And one of the pins I bought was a Gilius Thunderhead pin. So it was awesome just to have that around the time of the Sega announcement. It just goes so good. And on the weekend we all got together, play games as we do every year for around Christmas time, and we're actually playing the original Golden Axe. And it's just, I'm sorry, just these classic games, they're just perfect to me. Absolutely perfect. And the co-op just hasn't aged a day. Me and my friend were playing it and loving every second. We got to Death Adder, when the music comes in, it's like dude, it's just so good. Now this game, I think we might see Tyrese Flair in there, and then Axe Battlers, the other two classic Golden Axe characters rolling around. But I did see Tyrese Flair in there. I also, another game I loved was Golden Axe the Duel on a Sega Saturn. I loved that as a beat 'em up. There's a character in there called Milan Flair. She's actually got blonde hair, and I think she's kind of like either like the daughter or like a descendant of Tyrese Flair. But the character you see in this new thing has got blonde hair, and even though Tyrese sometimes looks like she's got blondish hair, sometimes it looks like it's brown. It most likely is Tyrese because she's doing fire magic, but it could be cool if it was Milan Flair as well. Although, if I remember from Golden Axe the Duel, I think she does win magic. I'm just getting too deep into it now, but anyway, I think Golden Axe looks incredible. To have like a Streets of Rage from that perspective, from almost like a locked camera perspective, to go full 3D with Golden Axe, just to have this mix up. Because Sega got all these great genres that whether just in side scrolling or beat 'em ups and stuff, to see them give different directions for both these IPs, I think is great. And this game looks like the Lord of the Rings games, Shadow of Mordor and stuff like that. And of course, Golden Axe being based off Conan the Barbarian. It's a great Conan the Barbarian games out there as well. One I loved on the Xbox 360, completely, that was brilliant. But yeah, I think you see like the three characters running together at one point, so hopefully there's going to be some co-op. I mean, it's Golden Axe, you gotta have co-op. Same with Streets of Rage. If they decide to make it a solid single-player game and you can switch between characters, that'd be fine with me as well, as long as you can switch between them and stuff. But yeah, I think Golden Axe out of all the games might have the bigger budget. Perhaps we'll see as we see more footage. But I think the art style looks phenomenal. I think it looks great. And then finally we saw Crazy Taxi, and yeah, everyone was going yeah, because it's Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi, just as an arcade game, is one of those peak Sega games where you could just sit down, have a 5-minute blast, chuck it off, come back the next day, have a 5-minute blast. It's an evergreen game. Now, I think one problem Crazy Taxi had when it hit consoles was exactly this. Even though they threw in loads of modes, and the original Crazy Taxi is still as playable as it was back then, as it is now, as it was back then. I think the problem Crazy Taxi 2 and 3 had is what it didn't really grow the formula too much. It kind of stuck with its arcade roots, and people kind of got, I suppose, tired of it because it really didn't do much. So seeing this new Crazy Taxi, and it looks like it's still set in, San Francisco, type of themed area. I'd even say it probably looks almost like a remake of the original game, but obviously not a remake because we've seen some new stuff in there, like the police cars, which it looks like you control as well. I saw my girl Gina. I always played as Gina, but I think you see Axel in there as well, still in his old like Hawaiian type of shirt. But yeah, I think what they look like they're doing with this one, I think they're definitely looking at a multiplayer element to it. And I think if you add, like, let's just say, people are either racing as in their taxis and someone's chasing you as a cops, and it's up to you to try and pick up as many fares as you can without getting caught or even destroyed, like Burnout style or something, even though I don't think that will be in a Burnout style. But it's quite funny, you think out of all the games, the way you drive around this city, I've heard other people saying, I completely agree with, is that it's no surprise that you're being chased by the cops. It's just, I just think it's going to add a layer of, it could just be a mode, or it could just be the main theme of the game. We don't know yet. There's so little seen of it. It's just exciting to think about the possibilities. But it looks to definitely have a Need for Speed type of element to it. And whether you play the Need for Speeds of the original games or the old ones, they're still great fun games to play when you're being chased by the cops and stuff. But yeah, so sorry, I knew I'd waffle on this because I'm running out of time. I apologize. But to end this, my only worry, out of all this hype, my only worry is I hope we still get that Japanese flair to it, because games like Jet Set Radio, especially like Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, and arguably even Crazy Taxi, I think having Sega of Japan, when they originally created those games, they really added to what those games were, as sometimes what only Japan can add to video games. I hope all these games don't get too westernized, and that's not like an insult to Western development. It's just that when they tackle Sega games of old, you can feel it. You can't feel the Japanese influence there as much, and I want them to feel like Sega games. And Sega is Japan through and through, regardless of their original history with America and stuff. Sega is a Japanese gaming company, and what made them famous were their Japanese games. So I hope that some of the development staff are mixed in there, along with the studios that they're working with to make these games. And I just had to talk about this. I'm beyond hyped, and I just, let's just be excited, right? Sega just came out of nowhere and announced 5 classic Sega games, and this is what we would want from some of our other classic Japanese companies like Namco and Konami and Capcom, who sit on treasure troves of classic IPs, that I miss and love, like Parodius, like Rocket Knight, like Ridge Racer, just all these, great games. But yeah, anyway, I know I'm a little bit late on this one. Everyone's already had their videos, but I don't care. I had to talk about it. You'll hear my opinion, which you come to my channel for, right? And to quickly add, what other Sega games would I absolutely love to see, because they mention and more in development. We know that Panzer Dragoon Spy is being worked on by Forever Entertainment, and even though the first game remake didn't do it for me, I can only be hopeful for Spy, because Spy is just peak to me. But Panzer Dragoon, of course, I want a new Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter 6 needs to come. Of course, give me Outrun 3. Give me Outrun 3, damn it. Skies of Arcadia, whether it's a remake or Skies of Arcadia 2, that's just peak Sega RPG. And I, deep down inside, would love to see Burning Rangers come back. Because Burning Rangers, for me, is such a classic Saturn game. Of course, Knights, we had Knights on the Wii, and that was a while back, so a new Knights game would be great. Shining Force, an actual, fancy Star RPG. It's just, Sega got so much so much. Let me know your comments and thoughts below, people. I'll reply to every single one of you. Thanks for listening. Take care all, and